In this video, we will take a look at the tool container, a very nice feature which allows us to group parts of our workflow together, giving us more control when it comes to the execution of workflows. Tool containers come in useful for numerous reasons, so let's dive straight into some use cases to see them in action. Firstly, you are able to group parts of your workflow together, i.e. you can place multiple tools into a single container. This can be done in two ways. So in this example, I have taken the workflow we created when we transposed data. So we have a stream of 6 tools. Now we can drag a tool container onto the canvas, which then provides us with an empty container, and then we can drag our selected tools into that container. The container's size will dynamically change to accommodate the tools that you've dragged in. This goes for additional tools that you drag in. The more tools you drag into the container will just adjust its size to accommodate the new tools placed within it. Another way to group tools together is to select the tools we want to place into a container, right-click, and then click on Add to New Container. This is great for a couple of reasons. When you move a tool container, all of the tools within it will then move together. So you don't have to worry about individually selecting tools that you want to move in sync. A tool container takes care of this for you. Secondly, when a tool container is enabled, the workflow will run as normal. When a tool container is disabled, all of the tools within it will not run. This therefore gives us control as to what parts of the workflow we want to run, but more on this shortly. Now in terms of the tool container configuration, we have a few options. Firstly, we can label our tool container. This will then make it easier to understand what the container relates to, rather than simply giving the container a number. We then have some styling options. Firstly, text color, which refers to the caption color. We have the fill color, which is the background color of the tool container itself. We can change the border color of the container. We can adjust the transparency of the container. Now the higher number you place in this box, the more transparent, and this goes up to a number of 80. And the lowest I believe you can go to is 1. You then have the option to adjust the margin of the container, i.e. how much space is between the tools and the container border. So if we change this to extra large and then run the workflow, you can see the container gets a lot bigger, as it has a bigger margin from border to the tools. Now, as mentioned previously, sometimes you may be working on part of a workflow that you don't want to run. In this case, you can place your tools in a tool container and then disable the container. This is done by clicking on the toggle icon in the top left-hand corner of the container. Another way to enable and disable the container is by clicking on the disabled checkbox in the configuration window. When a tool container is disabled, the tools contained within it do not run. Now, being a visual person, I personally love to make use of tool containers to make things extremely clear in terms of workflow layout. Therefore, I always take advantage of the style options that come with containers. I associate specific colors with specific tasks, whether that be inputs, transformation, outputs, and so on. Depending on the workflow, my use of colors for a tool container may change. So the more you use them, the sooner you'll find a pattern of use that works for you. One final thing to cover is that tool containers can contain other tool containers. So you can enable and disable subsets of a container if you so desire. So you have a lot of flexibility in how you want to arrange your workflow. There is not one correct way of doing this, and you will find a preference that works for you. But utilizing tool containers will give you more control over the execution of a workflow.